We Live in Time is a romantic drama directed by John Crowley and written by Nick Payne. A24 acquired distribution rights in America, whilst Studio Canal handles worldwide distribution. When an up-and-coming chef and a recent divorcee are brought together by a chance encounter, they find their lives forever changed. The film follows the relatable ups and downs of their relationship over the course of a decade, implementing the use of non-linear storytelling. This review will be spoiler-free. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield star as Elmet and Tobias, respectively. The naming of these characters is quite unique considering how cookie-cutter the screenplay is. Usually these sorts of films will name their characters something forgettable like Emma and Tom in order for the audience to project themselves onto the characters. Apologies if you are named Emma or Tom. Clearly this film wants you to perceive these characters as well-rounded people that you are observing. However, the screenplay hardly does the work. The dialogue is extremely generic. There are times where they get away with it, times where it serves its purpose. There are also times where it is groan-inducing and predictable. There were multiple times throughout where I predicted the lines of dialogue seconds before they were spoken. Pugh and Garfield are both fantastic. I love them in everything that they are in, and they do the heavy lifting here. I honestly don't think the film would be very good without them. Pugh is more of the protagonist here, but I think it is Garfield that goes the extra mile to breathe life into a character that we really don't know much about. The film is 108 minutes, and I think Garfield had tears in his eyes for about 60 of those. This is not to put down Pugh, who is also doing as much as she can with what is also a relatively bland character. Tobias is largely built on a series of quirks. He sometimes struggles to say how he feels, therefore he makes a habit of writing. This translates to him using notepads to track certain things in their lives. He also loves to eat chocolate oranges, and while these little quirks are cute and amusing, they hardly do much to form a character. The same goes for Elmet, who is someone very talented in multiple fields. However, she hides a lot of these talents for reasons that are seldom explored. It is hard to figure out exactly why these two are a good fit for each other, as they tend to come from different places and want different things. Pugh and Garfield have great chemistry, so that's why it works, because it is never abundantly clear why they are all over each other from the get-go. The implementation of non-linear storytelling is hardly unique, 500 Days of Summer being the shining example for the genre. However, We Live in Time is helped by this format, as it keeps the film from feeling more generic than it already is inherently. As harsh as I sound here, I have to sing praises to more than the performances, as I did enjoy the film, despite the less than stellar dialogue, generic story, and lack of fleshed out characters. I mentioned that the performances do the heavy lifting, but there is some genuinely competent direction here that you don't often see in this genre. This is a bit dark to call a rom-com, but let's just say it is a rom-com of sorts. That genre has been largely relegated to ugly and trite streaming fodder these days, so I always champion big screen iterations that have passion behind the camera, because this one clearly does have care put into it. The film is shot and color graded nicely, and has a few standout sequences. There is one in particular that occurs in a service station restroom that was quite funny and easy to get swept up in. In fact, my audience laughed a lot during this film and seemed to respond appropriately throughout. The movie felt genuine. It felt like everyone involved really cared about it. The ending was really well done. It felt like a truly realistic look at the situation it presented. It wasn't over the top. People laughed and cried at multiple points. You could feel that people enjoyed the film just from the energy in the room. To its credit, there were quite a lot of unexpectedly funny lines of dialogue. It's just that when it comes to the dramatic dialogue, it falls short. There are a few sequences that drag on a little long, but thanks to the non-linear narrative, the pace is relatively tight. I think that you could have shaved off 10 minutes, but it works pretty well regardless. I'm sure if you have seen the trailers, then you probably know what to expect from this film. I don't need to go into story details or anything like that. I will preserve it for the people who maybe haven't been as exposed to the marketing. Whilst this is not the best or most original of its genre, it does house two very strong performances from Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, unsurprisingly, as well as sincere direction showcased in a few standout sequences. If you temper your expectations, then I think this is worth a watch, as I think that the romantic comedy drama is a genre that can be really great, as it was in the 1990s and 2000s. If you support this in cinemas, then it will hopefully show Hollywood studios that we want more care put into this genre. We don't want it to just be silly streaming fodder. I know that's how I feel, at least.